Welcome into the college football every game on the board show, starting with Wednesday night. We got Thursday night, Friday night lights, and the top of the Saturday card. A four-part series, guys. If you're new to college football, every game on the board, wherever you're downloading your podcasts at, every game on the board on YouTube and Twitter as well, at Jeff Nadu, at Drew Martin Betts. Without further ado, our leadoff hitter, Jeff Nadu, the big man on campus. Welcome in, buddy. How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. I don't always like to be the leadoff hitter because I always have to discuss these terrible games, which kind of sucks. And it's interesting, Drew. I always look over your games, just quickly. I got to tell you, I got some rough ones this week. I would have liked to have had a different group of games, but I do what I'm asked, and here we are.
Hey, man. Well, we appreciate you leading off, and hey, get on, maybe take an extra base, whatever it takes. We got Jeff Nadu here, 305-306, Ball State Bowling Green. We're talking Wednesday night action. Always fun. Big man, 40 being the total, -5, -4.5, -5.5, depending where we're shopping here. We are seeing Bet Online showing -5, so we'll go with that. Bowling Green hosting Ball State. I'll tell you, big man, I like the home team here. Give me the Falcons. How do you feel?
Yeah, I don't agree. I think, and that's one of the reasons I think these numbers come down a little bit from 6.5 at one point. It is at 5, you said now?
Yeah, that's what Bet Online's hanging.
Yeah, I think people are just kind of saying to themselves, like, why is Connor Bazay like nearly a touchdown favorite? I mean, I guess, I understand like why you don't play well against maybe like Ohio or Miami of Ohio, but I mean, last week, 6 for 11, 69 yards against Akron. I know they won the game, but I don't know. To be able to do those things and play that poorly and win week after week, I just don't really have any interest. I get where you're coming from. Bowling Green is obviously a better team. But Ball State, I feel like, has played pretty well recently. I mean, won last week, right in the game against Toledo, who's the best team in this conference. So I don't think they're that inept. These are kind of like the UTEP, kind of like Sam Houston type of games to me. I won't bet this game with my worst enemy's money. I don't have any interest in it. This is a pass for me.
All right, man. Maybe Kent State, Akron. We're talking bottom of the barrel here in the MAC, big man. -4. That's the Zips as the home favorite. We get 39.5 being the total here, guys. Bet Online showing 39 as the total, 39.5, -4. That's the Zips hosting Kent State. Anything in the nightcap from action, big man?
I think if I had to bet either game tonight, this would probably be the one that I would look at, weirdly enough. I'd probably just lean on the under. You look at kind of these two teams. These are the worst two teams in America, right? You look at on offense, I mean, Kent State, it doesn't really matter how they try to move the ball. They've been inept. They can't throw the ball. They're the worst rush offense in America as far as success rate. I mean, Akron's heinous as well. I think both these teams, if there's anything to write home about, is on defense. I mean, they're actually quite good against the run, at least for their groups of teams. You also look at finishing drives, which is scoring touchdowns. Both are near the bottom of America. They both play pretty slow. I don't really know where, let's say, 40-ish plus points come from. You look at last year though, 33-27. So what do I know? Who knows on these two games? I know people like to bet them just because these are kind of degenerate specials where people just bet them to bet. Last night I saw a lot of people just betting games to bet games. If you're going to focus on this conference, try to focus on some of the good teams. And last night you had Toledo, but I saw a lot of people all over Northern Illinois. There'll be people that'll bet these games. You just can't sell to me that there are redeemable edges in these. I don't see it.
Well, maybe on the Thursday night slate here, big man, we get a trifecta. November 2nd, Thursday night, TCU, Texas Tech leading us off, 7 o'clock Eastern here. 311, 312, we're going down in rotation order, guys. 59.5 being the total, and it's pretty much -3 across the board. That's the Red Raiders as the home favorite here, hosting TCU. You like anything in the Lone Star State special?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of had maybe a lean here. Maybe taking a shot with the over. In this game possibly. I mean, Texas Tech, I mean, we always know they struggle mightily to get stops. They've kind of fallen off a little bit. I remember last time I backed them was way back when they played, I think it was Baylor possibly or Houston. I liked them in those two games, but recently they've not looked real good. They've struggled a lot on the defensive end. You gave up 27 points last time out against BYU, who for the most part has been a pretty inept offense this season. TCU, I don't know. I don't really know what to expect out of this group either. I mean, you look at over the last two games, they've lost 85-14. So not a lot to write home with them. I don't know, man. Another tough game, Drew.
Sure. We got ACC up next. This is a funny one as well here, big man. Wake Forest catching 12.5 at Duke, 44 being the total. We are seeing it get hit 45 now, Bet Online showing. So minus 12 in the hook pretty much across the board. That's the Blue Devils at home hosting the Demon Deacons. You like anything here in what, Raleigh? Or Durham?
Yeah, I lean on the under in this game.
Okay.
You look at Wake. I mean, they just have continued issues offensively, and again, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the quarterback play has been up and down. And I've talked about this before. I mean, you look at this team; they're in the bottom 3 in America in sacks allowed per game. You're just not going to have a lot of consistency on offense when you cannot protect your quarterback. Your run game can't get going. You don't have any time to throw. And look, say what you want about Duke, but this team's been pretty damn good defensively. You also look at them. I mean, I think it's abundantly clear that Riley Leonard's not healthy. They just can't move the ball. I thought 44.5 was probably a bit too high here. Duke should be a little bit better offensively because this is a opponent that's not clearly as good as the last two teams you've played. But I don't know that they're going to jump off either. Throw in the fact they have a big game next week on the horizon at UNC. I don't really have a lot of confidence right now in Wake or Duke, but I like the under. I will throw this out, Drew. This is super interesting. So 63% of the bets coming in are on Duke, but 75% of the actual money is on the Wake Forest Demon Deacon. So I think there's thought that Riley Leonard just isn't healthy. Maybe this is like a 24-17, 21-13 type of game. Something tells me Wake hangs in this game because I don't think either team can move the ball. Sure,
big man. And you're bringing up percentages here. Is that something you factor into your handicap a lot, or is it just kind of every now and again you'll take?
I think when you see distinctions like that one where the bet percentage is on one, but the actual money is on the other. Like I'm always looking at the money being wagered because again, it's only Wednesday and it's early on Wednesday for most people. Keep in mind, in Las Vegas right now, it's barely 11 o'clock in the morning. So all the money that's come in so far has been sharp money.
Yeah. And
I think the thought in the sharp community right now is that Duke is overvalued. The quarterback is not healthy. And they seemingly have had trouble moving the ball. I mean, they got shut out last week. I mean, only scored 20 against the Florida State Seminoles. And I believe they had a pick 6 in that game. So they only scored 13 total points. So yeah, I have some concerns about this offense, and I think sharps do too. Do I look at it on every single game? Some of the big games I think you have to, but no, I mean, some of the lower end matchups, no, I don't really care much about it.
He's Jeff Nadu at Jeff Nadu on Twitter, the big man on campus. I'm Drew Martin. Every game on the board, guys, brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer. Viva Tequila Seltzer, 4.5% ABV, 0 sugar. Check it out, guys. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Get it shipped to your house. Hashtag Viva Vibes. And Bet Online, betonline.ag. The game starts here. If you're looking for a sportsbook account, go check out betonline.ag. We got South Alabama and Troy up next, 7:30 Eastern here, big man. 45.5 being the total, -5.5 is what Bet Online is showing. This is a battle of the belt. This is a rivalry game. These two teams not far apart, know each other well, don't necessarily like each other. South Alabama versus Troy, not a far drive here, big man. 45.5 being the total, -5 in the hook. That's the Trojans hosting USA.
Yeah, this is another under I like. I felt like anything above 45, I'd have some interest, and you got that here. This game last year was 10-6. And these were, I think, probably slightly better offenses. But here's the thing, Drew. I mean, both these teams are stout against the run. I mean, Troy has shut down some really good rushing attacks this year. They have a top 20 rushing defense, and they're actually quite good against the pass as well. And this is the concern I have for South Alabama. Against like the Southern Misses and the bad teams in this conference, they'll move the ball, but Webb's not going to be able to run the balls effectively. You look at it in conference this year. I mean, Carter Bradley's not been that good as a passer. He really struggled a little bit last week against UL Lafayette, a pretty good defense. We saw them struggle against JMU to move the football. And Troy they're not exactly a big play offense really either. They want to keep the ball on the ground behind Vidal. We've seen them, just kind of put up really good defensive performances. I do like the under, but I will say as well, I do kind of like Troy here at home, anything under a touchdown. I just feel like they've kind of shown time and time again that they're not only legit on offense, but, they just kind of shut you down. They take away what you want to do away. They really stifled, I think, a really good offense in Texas State. I give South Alabama some credit, but I just don't love Bradley in these type of games. South Alabama's a nice team, but Troy to me is on another level. I think Gunnar Watson will take care of business. They're at home here. I kind of lean on Troy, anything under a touchdown.
Okay. I agree with you. I mean, two really good teams, South Alabama and Troy is going to go a long way, guys. We do have Adam joining us on YouTube, guys, every game on the board, wherever you're downloading your podcast as well. Game 5 World Series goes under 8. It's Eovaldi versus Zach Gallen, Texas versus Arizona. About a pick 'em price tag, guys. Before we get to the Friday card here, Big Man, I believe you're a Phillies fan. It might be rough, but are you touching anything in the World Series?
I can't say I watched a pitch. I don't even know what I don't. I'll be honest, Drew. Like baseball over the years has been. I think like in my next like 10 years, like summer for me is just going to be doing other things. Like I used to enjoy baseball, but it's just not something I'm that into anymore. I like soccer. I've kind of bet that, occasionally. I know this year, a lot of the last couple of years we've had some tournaments like the World Cup or Euro Cup or whatever. So I just don't have interest. And especially after August, I don't have any interest. I didn't even, if I'm out and it's on TV, like I'll watch it, but it's not something I really wager on. I had a couple of plays in the playoffs. I think I kind of broke even, but that's really all.
Cool, man. It's one of those things. I mean, Adam, thanks for chiming in here, man. And sounds like it goes back to the SBR days where I met Jeff. So, had good things going. Thanks for chiming in on YouTube, Adam. We got Friday night lights action up next, November 3rd here, big man. 317, 318. BC at Syracuse, 50.5 being the total, -2. That's what BLL is showing here. So the Orange hosting Boston College. You liking anything here in Syracuse?
I mean, I don't want to do it, but I kind of want to bet Syracuse. I'm just being honest. Like, for as bad as they've played, here they are as a favorite. And I'll tell you, this number's all over the place. I mean, I know, Bet Online to me is Bet Online is the best sports book over the years, at least to me. Mm-hmm. But you look around the odds, I see a 1.5 on Syracuse. I see a 2. I see a 2.5. I even see a 3 on this game at different books. Like this number is screaming as Syracuse. Like sharps are betting Syracuse. They're all over them. I'll tell you this, like if there's a spot where they're going to rally and just kind of say, you know what, we're 4-4. I mean, the season's not over for Syracuse. It's not like they're 1-7, Drew. They're 4-4. They've had a rough go of games the last 4, but they still have plenty of games left. This is a really winnable game. I'm starting to look at this one, and out of the games we've talked about thus far, I think it's a great place to back Cuse. I think you have to, as a handicapper, put out of your head what you've seen. And again, I think Virginia Tech's probably a lot better than we think they are. And then before that, they played 3 really good teams or 3 teams that are sniffingly better than they are. I kind of look at BC. I'm not that enthralled by this group. They've played a kind of a topsy weird schedule. Played a Connecticut team that's horrific. Georgia Tech 1 week will lose to like a nobody and then beat UNC. Army's really bad this year. Virginia's really bad this year. I'm going to rally and take Syracuse. I think this is a good spot to back them, at anything under 3.
Sure, at home. And it's, you bring up put it out of your head. It's almost like, last year when they fell off the map, they started off hot and then lost all those games. It's like, does that matter for this year or not so much? I tend to just think each year is very different from past years, but I don't know. Who knows?
I also look at this and say, like, over the last 2 games that these two teams have played, and I know that doesn't mean a ton, but Syracuse had the same quarterback for a while. They've won both games by 9 or more. Now we only have a number under a field goal. Again, you have to look at what we actually know. Syracuse is 4-4. We know they're not going to win the ACC. We know they're not going to go to the national title game. You want to get to a bowl. They have 4 games left. A very, winnable schedule here. This is a game you pretty much have to have. This is our last home game as well. So, this is a big game. So I like Syracuse here.
Interesting there. We got next one up. We'll head out. This is called the Border War here, guys. This is a rivalry game as well. Colorado State and Wyoming, 8 o'clock Eastern kick here. Low total, big man, 41. We are seeing the Cowboys of Wyoming minus 7-point home favorites. And I'll tell you this, if you like Wyoming, it's 7 pretty much across the board. There is a -6 in the hook out there at BetOnline, betonline.ag. The game starts here. Wyoming, -6.5 at BOL, -7 everywhere else, big man. You liking anything to finish off Friday Night Lights card?
Well, it seems like anytime Wyoming plays at home, they have a really kind of just spirited effort. These last couple of games, they've not looked good, and they played against good teams. I still think Boise's quite good on offense, and we know Air Force is a rock. I'll say this. I bet against Colorado State last week. I thought I got really lucky. I don't know if you saw that game, Drew, but it was snowing. It was a mess out in Fort Collins. Air Force found a way to cover late. I may not have deserved it, but I've had a weird year, so I'll take it. I like Colorado State. I'm really kind of concerned. I want to take a look at the weather. Laramie is a weird place. Colorado State's very pass heavy with that quarterback there. Not very good on defense. And I kind of like to back Wyoming at home, always with a good, solid blue-collar defense. They're well coached. But if you're going to give me 7 and I get decent weather here, I obviously want to take a look at the weather situation. But if you give me decent weather and I'm going to get a full touchdown, weather looks all right, 58. It's going to be windy, though. That's a concern. So I'll probably just avoid it. But lean Colorado State, but 18 to 25 mile an hour winds is concerning.
Absolutely. We got top of the Saturday card here, guys. November 4th, we'll hit down to 338. That's Penn State, Maryland. So we got about 8 games left. Coastal Carolina, Old Dominion. We are seeing the Shunt Declares -1 point road favorites, 50.5 being the total. You like anything in this one, big man?
I like Old Dominion here. I think we have to look at this team anytime they're an underdog. I think you have to look to play them. They've covered 5 straight games as a dog. I think 7 of the last 9 getting points. Old Dominion has not played bums either. I mean, they hung against a good JMU team last year, undefeated, a group that stops everything against the run. They scored, I think they had almost 200 rushing yards. Really impressive game from Old Dominion. They're well coached. Randy Rahe, I believe, is still there. He's done a pretty good job there with that group. Coastal is probably going to be without Grayson McCall again. I don't know that means a lot, though, because the backup played pretty well for him last week. But if you're going to give me a home dog in Old Dominion, I'm going to have some interest, man. This team's pretty solid. They have a pretty good defensive group. They're good against the run. I kind of like the Monarchs a little bit here.
Little home dog barking here with the Monarchs, Old Dominion versus Coastal Carolina to start us off. Next one up, this is going to be a blowout here, big man. Tennessee hosting Yukon. Tennessee -35-point home favorites, 55 being the total. Josh Heupel has covered 7 of his last 9 when favored by more than 2 touchdowns. What I'm getting at here, big man, he's one of those coaches that likes to run up the score when given the opportunity, even going back to his UCF days. I think Tennessee, the Vols, blow out Yukon. Not a huge fan, not a huge bet of like laying this many points, but I do think it happens here. I think this one finishes like 55-7. Tennessee wins. I would lay the points. Do you have anything in this?
What'd you say the number was here again?
Minus 35.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, this is hard as a team to do. Like, middle of the season, you got to play a team that you're gonna beat, right? And to me, this isn't like a vintage Tennessee offense.
Yeah,
Is like UConn's so bad. Tennessee also has Missouri on deck, that's a tough game there. The problem is UConn, I think, is quit, and that's kind of the issue. You can kind of roll the ball out and score 40 against UConn. One thing that concerns me and why I'm not telling you to play UConn. I just maybe consider avoiding when you're laying 30 or more points. It's just really hard to bet on a team in Tennessee who only scores a touchdown in the red zone about 51% of the time. That's 111th in America. Just not a good mark. Now, I think that stat's kind of skewed because that's against significantly better defenses. We'd figure Tennessee probably gets like 70% in this game. But it's hard to play these types of teams like in a weird spot in the middle of the season. I don't know. I could see this like 41-7 or something. I'm not saying to take UConn, but it's hard to bet on a team in Tennessee where you have a guy in Joe Milton who seems like he's all or nothing a lot of the time. If this is last year, yeah, I'd lay 45 probably, but like it's not.
No, all good points, man. Yeah, whenever you're laying this many points, it can get dicey. Next one up, we'll go to NC State here. Miami at NC State. We are seeing the Hurricanes, who have bounced back a little bit, big man. -4 in the hook as the road favorite, 45 being the total, prime time, 8 p.m. Eastern start in the ACC.
Yeah, I hate NC State, but like I think this is the exact type of spot you backed them with. I'm not really sure that Miami's like this team's brutal. Like they're hard to back at all. I told you last week, Drew, that was a perfect spot to blow out Virginia, right? They just beat UNC. You're at home. Great spot for Miami. They struggle to win. They win by 3 points. There's 18-point favorites. I don't know how you can bet on this team and feel comfortable at any point. Miami is a Doppler group of morons. I mean, they have 6 wins too. Big game for NC State. You know, at any rate, say what you want about this team, but they're 5-3. They've kind of weathered the storm, moving to MJ Morris. You know, they kind of want to run the football and play good defense. I lean with the home dog here personally. I have no interest in Miami at any number.
Yeah, especially going on the road. Maybe look towards the Wolfpack plus the 4 in the hook. Heading to the Big Ten up next, Wisconsin at Indiana. We're seeing the Badgers -9.5-point favorites, 45 being the total. Badgers at Hoosiers. Liking anything in the Big Ten here in Bloomington, big man.
Yeah, Wisconsin is a group that I think we kind of figured last week would probably hang. You know, we know that Ohio State's offense isn't great outside of Marvin Harrison. We know their defense is good, and I think we talked about that game last week. You and I kind of leaned under. I thought it was a pretty good spot. I mean, I'd go right back to the well again with probably an under here. I think if you say anything about Indiana, you could say that their defense is actually quite decent. You know, we know they can't move the ball. I was surprised with how well they played, though, last week against Penn State. It seems like Penn State might have some major issues in just kind of figuring things out right now. But, yeah, backup quarterback for Wisconsin, I lean on another under here.
2 teams making the jump up to the Big 12 from the AAC. Central Florida and Cincinnati. Next game we'll talk here, 3:30 Eastern, 59.5 being the total. We are seeing -4 pretty much across the board. That is UCF is the road favorite here, big man. Any interest in the Queen City?
I think what we're learning about Cincinnati is that they're really going to struggle in the Big 12 getting stopped. I mean, their defense, this isn't the group under Luke Fickell that was like, that had, you know, Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant a couple of years ago. This is not that team. They are not good on defense. I watched them against Oak State last week, and they just can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. Emory Jones, I don't know why anyone thought, like, why did they think he was going to be a good player at Cincinnati? Emory Jones sucked at Florida. He sucked at really every place he's been. Screw Emory Jones. I wouldn't back this guy with your money, Drew. As far as UCF, yeah, I think it's another game you struggle to keep up in. One thing we found about UCF, they can move the football. They put points on a board. I kind of like UCF a little. I think Cincinnati's kind of a beaten team. Central Florida can move the ball. I'm not really that worried about, that offense for Cincy either. They've struggled at really both ends.
Big man, we got a tricky one here. Jacksonville State at South Carolina. This Jacksonville State team has been good at their level. They're taking a step up here in the SEC, obviously. Gamecocks minus 15 in the hook, 55 being the total. Jacksonville, Alabama to Columbia, South Carolina. Not that far of a trip, but I don't know. I always have trouble with these, like stepping up in class. I'll throw it over to you. Any interest?
Yeah, these are tough. I think they're tough, though, for both sides because you kind of have to play down. And, South Carolina, I think when we ask ourselves, like, is this that much? South Carolina stinks.
I know.
They should move the ball, though, and they have a good passing offense. They should be able to move the ball. As you said, stepping up and playing. Look, Jacksonville State's look solid on defense at certain levels against, Sam Houston and some of those teams. That's a bad conference, too, Conference USA. It hasn't been a good season this year for them. I think they move the ball. The way to attack South Carolina is through the air. They have the worst pass defense in America. They just get no stops. They're going to have to make some throws, Jacksonville State. We'll see if their quarterback can do that. But, Teddy Covers used to say this a long time ago when we would do videos. The stark in class athletically and physically between these teams are quite large. But I've seen Jacksonville State when they were an FCS team. They went in and beat or almost beat certain really good SEC groups. So another one, again, Drew, this card you're giving me is hard. I don't have a lot on these games. You have SEC teams playing Conference USA in week 10. It's just super hard.
Yeah, when we get to this point in the season, there is more of that. And you bring up as an FCS team, I think they actually went into Doak Campbell and knocked off Florida State a couple years ago. I do remember that one.
Yeah. One thing that I also have an issue with, and I'm just going to kind of call out the NCAA and some of these stat groups that put out stats. For whatever reason, the NCAA, their stat group doesn't. So they won't put JMU, Sam Houston, Jacksonville. They don't put them into the aggregated stats. It's super weird. So when I look at these games, I just kind of very rudimentary. Can they throw the football? Where they rank? I'm curious about that. I don't have that stuff. Shame on you, NCAA, for not doing that.
Yeah, I hate how they have that. It's like transition years for 2 years. I don't know. I think it's one of those stupid rules. But I do get it because they don't want teams jumping up from the FCS to the FBS and then jumping back down. So they're trying to keep teams from doing that. But yeah, it's one of those rules I'm not a big fan of. Big man, we got 3 games left here. Ohio State and Rutgers is the next one as the Buckeyes go on the road here to New Jersey. 12 noon Eastern kickoff. 42.5 being the total. We're seeing the Buckeyes minus 18 in the hook as the road favorite.
I feel like if you're Rutgers, right, you have to look at this game and think to yourself, is this the year maybe we finally have an ability to stay in this game? Drew, let me read the last, let's just say 7 matchups. 49-10, 52-13, 49-27, 56-21, 52-3, 56-0, 58-0, 49-7, 56-17. That's the last 10 matchups in this series.
I didn't realize that.
I guess we can probably say, and I'm sure you would agree, this is probably the best Rutgers team in a long time. Probably since Ray Rice was there, right?
Yeah.
This is I think if there's, Ohio State is ranked number 1, but are they truly the number 1 team? Something tells me, man, 18.5 is too many. What's the number? Is Rutgers that much worse than Wisconsin? I'm not sure they are. I feel like this is maybe a rallying point for Rutgers. It's a home game. They're already bowl eligible. They don't got much really to lose here. I don't know. Something tells me that 18.5. You know what this game reminds me of? And I'm going to Drew, I've had a bad beat in every game I bet this year. Every week I have 4 or 5 games. Every week, one of the games involves just a heinous bet, a heinous beat. Last week, ECU. They scored with 10 seconds to go to cover the number. Just nonsense. I think that could happen here. Something tells me that Ohio State, they come to the back door, Rutgers. I think they rally for some reason in this game.
Fair enough, big man. As we got I could see it too through the back door, a couple different, but I mean, all those scores of the past, man, that is definitely eye opening. Huge shout out to the chat box here, guys.
31-13 is a winner here.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you think it's that low scoring? I guess
I do. I think Rutgers is pretty solid defensively.
We got David Montgomery, homecoming David in the house. Ronnie as well. Thanks for joining us here, guys, on YouTube. Every game on the board. Feel free to throw out what you're looking to bet, where you agree, where you disagree. Yeah, people comment in here. Casual.
No, Drew. Listen, this is how sickening this game was. They were up, so they were up like 21. Okay, ECU's driving, just not playing any defense. They could have let their clock run out. They're down 21. There's no reason to call a timeout. With like 14 seconds left, ECU's coach calls a timeout from the 3-yard line. It's like, for what? Like, you have to wonder about this sport. Like, you do. I just do. You just do.
Or is it just as simple as they're aware of the point spread and they want to cover for their boosters? They like their job. They're getting paid a lot and they don't want to lose it.
Yeah, I mean, that's probable. I mean, it's just, but it's UTSA in general. This team, every time I bet against them, something stupid happens. Like, I have the total at 66. It falls 61, and they screwed up in the red zone and didn't score a touchdown at the 2-yard line when they needed it. Again, Drew, I don't want to hanker on this game again, but the same game we're talking about. UTSA with 5 minutes left was up 21 at the 5-yard line, 1st and goal. They score a touchdown, the game is over. They're up 28. No backdoor nonsense comes in. 2nd and goal, they run the ball in, but there's a personal foul fight penalty. They kicked the kid out, back on to the 25. They get nothing on the next 2 downs, kick a field goal and miss it, and that was that. I knew I wasn't going to cover right from there. It's nonsense like that where you're set up perfectly. It's UTSA, though. This team is just a Doppler team, man.
Big man, 2 games left. Getting back to him here. Florida State and Pitt. We get the Noles heading up to Pittsburgh here. 3:30 Eastern. Minus 21 in the hook. That's the Noles as the road favorite. 51 being the total. They got to win by more than 3 touchdowns on the road. Do you like anything in the Steel City?
You know, Pitt is that team, man, aren't they? They play like crap the whole season. And then they deliver one of these like Louisville performances, or they deliver, just some kind of weird performance. I don't know. It's so hard to bet on Pitt, man, just because they have a horrible offense. Their completion percentage is like the lowest in America. Like, they can't, I don't know how they beat Louisville and put up 38 points. It's just one of those things. I don't know, man. Another tough, hard game to play because Florida State, they have every initiative to win big, and Jordan Travis is right there. I look at this game last week, another game that I probably should have bet and didn't. We knew Florida State was going to roll Wake. I'm probably going to lean on laying it. I just think Pitt had that one game this year, and you have to wonder where this group's head's at. I mean, they just can't move the ball on offense. They're 2-6. For them to just get to 6 wins, they got to win this game. If they're down 24-0 at half, I mean, they're just going to throw it in, man. So, yeah, I lean in on maybe laying it here.
Shout out to the sponsors of the show, guys. We got 1 game left for this segment. 3 more segments will finish off the week of college football. Every game on the board. Viva Tequila Seltzer. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. 4.5% ABV, 0 sugar. Great for celebrating these victories. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Get it shipped to your house. And betonline.ag, guys. BetOnline, proud sportsbook sponsor of every game on the board. BetOnline.ag. The game starts here. Big man,
if you're in this chat
watching
this show, I highly recommend BetOnline. Very good with openers. I think they have to be a part of a repertoire if you're a gambler. So go check out BetOnline.
Oh yeah, definitely agree with you, big man. 1 game left in best bets. You mentioned these games not being that good during the week. Is it something like you want to switch it up? Would you rather go later in the show and have another handicapper go earlier?
I don't mind once in a while, maybe, because I'll tell you right now, none of the games we talked about. I mean, could I see the only game I could see myself actually betting on would maybe be Syracuse, maybe Old Dominion. But yeah, I guess this is how it happens this week, where it's just a lot of, and I've noticed, like, if you look across football in general, I saw that, like, even in the NFL, like, scoring is down significantly.
Oh yeah,
and it seems like in college football it's the same way. But yeah, I have a best bet. I'll give you a good one.
okay, for sure. And yeah, I guess we could talk about that if you want to. We can make that happen, big man. Put you in the best position to give out good information for the listeners. I'm
I
all
wouldn't
about
mind it
that.
once in a while.
Penn State and Maryland to end section number 1, guys. We'll bring in mid-major Matt at 4:00 Eastern for section number 2. Penn State at Maryland here, 3:30 Eastern, -8 in the hook. BOL showing the -8 here, so we'll go with that. 51 being the total. Penn State Nittany Lions laying more than a touchdown in College Park, big man.
It's hard for me with Penn State because I backed them the first 6 weeks of the season. I really liked this team. I felt like they were just rolling. I didn't really want to think and listen to the people that said, well, Drew hasn't done the ball downfield. I thought maybe it was just, they just didn't do it. They didn't need to. But then they got exploited against Ohio State. And I thought, well, maybe it's just Ohio State. They're really good. Then last week happened. And it's like, well, maybe they're just not good. Maybe they're just average. They've also got a big game down the road coming up against Michigan. Is that next week? I believe it is for some reason.
I'll look it up. I think it is too.
I want to say that's next week. So that kind of throws a wrench in here. You also throw in that, when you look at Maryland, this is a good rush defense. Yeah, it is next week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's another thing here. Maryland's top 25 against the run in America. I like Talia Tagovailoa a lot. I like their running back, Roman Hemby, a lot too. People don't really think about that. He's a great running back in his own right. We also throw in that last year, Drew, 30-0, Maryland lost this game. That's something you got to think about too. Felt like anything above 10. I had some interest on the dog here. I think Penn State, this is also a 3:30 game. If this were 8:30 or 8 o'clock game, maybe you give a little credence to the home crowd, but I'm not saying the home crowd won't be involved, but there's a lot to tell me to maybe take Maryland. However, if I play devil's advocate with my own discussion, I would say, well, it really depends where you have Penn State. To me, I just think right now this is a team that's kind of a walking issue, and next week's a big game for them.
Big man, great stuff as always, Mike. Wanting you to get the prime time.
Oh, by the way, real quick, Drew, I made a mistake here. The game is in Maryland. My apologies. Yeah. I thought this was in Penn State. Now I like it even more. I like Maryland plus 11.5.
Let's go Terps. Mike, wanting you to get the prime time. I guess we can make it happen here, big man, but I'll throw it over to you. Any final thoughts for the show and a best bet, one that you like more than the others?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Air Force. I'm going to lay the big number against Army. I know this is really tough to do because there's just not going to be a bunch of possessions in this game, but I'm going to continue. I've always been very successful with having good reads on military schools.
Yes.
I think this could be the biggest gulf in the military school group that we've ever seen. I think Air Force is up here, and I think the other two are way down here. Like, they're bad. And I think Army's the worst of them. Army is completely inept. And Drew, it's not like they just, are okay running the ball and they don't pass. They're not good running the ball this year either. I mean, you look at against Troy, they lost 19-0. They got shut out. Got shut out against LSU. Gave up 62 points. They lost last week, Drew, to UMass. UMass. Not BC, UMass, who they also lost to. Air Force has an elite offensive line, one of the best in America. I believe second only to Toledo. They can just road grade you. They're also a great team in the red zone. They score touchdowns. They're elite rush defense. It wouldn't surprise me if they shut out Army. I think this is like 21-0, 24-3. I'm going to lay the 18.
Yeah, Air Force has been money, guys. So I don't disagree with you there. Great breakdown. And I believe that is at Mile High Stadium as well, guys. So a little bit more of a trip for Army. He's the big man on campus. Follow him on Twitter at Jeff Nadu. Check out his podcast, The Sit Down, as well. He goes all over all things kind of, the mafia, Mexican cartels I've seen, even more. Jeff, anything else you want to throw out before we shut it down?
No, Drew, we've been here 10 weeks. It's been fun. Initially, Drew, this is funny. I don't know if you know this, but I remember that first time you called me to do this, I had assumed it was just a one-episode thing. Like, I thought you just asked me to come on once. And then you hit me up, and I'm like, oh, I guess this is a weekly thing. I was actually welcoming it because it's nice to just kind of kick around some things and get an early look at the card. So, yeah, maybe give me Mid-Major Matt. Give me his segment and put him on this segment. He'll enjoy that.
Are you sure? Because I usually try to give him the segment with the most small teams, and that usually is part number 2.
Well, Drew, you know what? I'm gonna do a little digging. Let me take a look at next week.
Okay.
Let me take a look at next week. Yeah. Give me a full Saturday slate, will you?
Okay. Yeah, we can change that up. All right. All right, guys, stay tuned for that. We'll give them some more prime time games here. Mike in the chat, you're going to get what you want. Give it BMOC some prime time next
By the way,
week.
College basketball starts next week. You want me to throw out a future for your people here?
Yes, please. I need one too.
Houston to win the national title. 20-1 is a crazy price. So I have Houston as the second best team in the country coming to the season, only behind Kansas. Houston is being priced like they're like a top 8 or 9 team in the country. 20-1 is too high. Houston to me is better. I think this is the best team we've seen probably in a year or two with Houston. Marcus Sasser's gone, but LJ Cryer is a better player. They are stacked. They have depth. The cohesion and chemistry's there. The culture's great down there. I think this is the year for Houston. I think they break through. I'm very high on this team. Their guard play is as good as anybody. Got plenty of long bigs. They got young studs. I love Houston. Very high on this group.
Love it, big man. Okay, Houston. Do you bet kind of futures any other way in college basketball? Like, is there season win totals or anything like that?
I more or less look at conferences.
Okay.
So, like, when I bet in the A10, I took St. Bonaventure. I really like them. I think the A10's down this year. Yeah, I usually stick to conferences. Wooden Award's interesting. I think Hunter Dickinson's got some value. I think LJ Cryer's got some value. LJ Cryer's 80-1 to win the Wooden Award. I think he could be not that he isn't already a household name, but I think he could be a huge player for Houston this year. But I like Hunter Dickinson at 9-1. I think Hunter's on the best team in America. He's going to have a ton of opportunities. And I think for him, it's really just going to be about how involved he is, because sometimes he can be on another planet. He's caring more about doing his podcast and talking shit as opposed to just playing. But I think that offense lends to him really well with Bill Self. So I like Hunter Dickinson in the Wooden Award market. I bet conference winners and to win the title a lot of the time. Love
it, man. Guys, if you want college basketball knowledge, he's your guy. He knows more than anybody I've ever even heard of. Big man, he obviously knows his college football as well. He's got the sit down going. Great follow on Twitter at Jeff Nadu, the big man on campus. Guys, that does it for part number 1. We will be back with Mid-Major Matt, part number 2 at 4:00 Eastern. Stay tuned for that. Big man, great stuff as always. Thanks for tuning in. Guys, chime in below in the comments on YouTube, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Every game on the board, college football. Drew Martin signing out. Jeff Nadu. Thanks, buddy. Cash those tickets. We'll be right back.